to thee, Rochester High. Hail to thee, dear RHS. Raise the song of the martyr to the school we love the best. Hail to thee, Rochester High. Ever true to thee will be loyalty and deep devotion. Gloriously we honor thee.
Rochester High School has a long and storied history since the first graduating class in 1882. As the town grew, so did its high school. The first school, Rochester Union, stood on what was called Academy Hill at the corner of 4th and Wilcox Streets. 6 years after the first graduation, fire completely destroyed the old wooden building. It was quickly replaced in 1889 by a two-story red brick school on the same site. In 1907, an addition was built on the north side with a second floor for high school classes. In 1916, a separate high school building was built at the corner of 5th, now University, and Wilcox. 5 years later, in 1921, a combined auditorium, gymnasium, and 6 upper-level classrooms were added on the Wilcox Street side. Then, in 1929, the two school buildings on 4th and 5th were connected by a wing running east and west. This wing had a cafeteria and 16 classrooms for elementary, junior high, and senior high grades. The Great Depression in the 1930s and World War II in the first half of the 1940s curtailed any further expansion. But the end of the war brought on a new era when the consolidated Rochester School District expanded far beyond the Rochester village limits. On the verge of this expansion, a remarkable figure was added to the high school faculty. Young Ray Lawson, a war veteran, was hired as an English teacher in 1946. He also became senior class advisor, a capacity he has served for more than a half century. I am Herb Peters, Rochester High class of 32, the same number of years, 32, I spent as a Rochester teacher beginning in 1949. I early became acquainted with Ray Lawson. At the start, we were both living on Oak Street. He just 2 houses away at the George Martins. We were colleagues in the secondary school up the hill until the high school moved in 1956 out to Livernois and Walton. Ray was always a good friend and mentor, and like the other faculty members, I held him in the highest esteem. The hiring of Ray Lawson was one of the best things to ever hit Rochester High. He continues to share his rich teaching style 55 years later. We dedicate this video to Mr. Ray Lawson, teacher, friend, encourager, and as his student admirers say, a darn good dancer.
I'm Ken Engelman, and I write for the Vintage View newspaper, a publication of OPC. And I recently wrote an article about Ray Lawson, and I was asked to read the article for this video, so I will read the article for you. Ray Lawson, teacher, and so much more. His grandfather, Ora Sheldon, was a horseman, raising Percherons and Pacers, and his father Fred went into registered Holstein cattle. Ray's father, in the German tradition, expected him, being the eldest son, to go to Michigan State College, where he would learn the latest methods of farming. He would then come home, manage the farm, and make it the most productive one in Sanilac County. The Lawson Farm is a pre-Civil War centennial farm of 360 acres located in the rich farmland of Michigan's Thumb, a few miles west of Sandusky. Ray Lawson, who was born in Sandusky in 1918, did not go to Michigan State College, and in fact could not see college in his future at all when he graduated from Sandusky High School in 1936. In those final days of the Great Depression, families were fortunate if they could retain ownership of their property and at the same time put food on the table. College was not an option. Ray, however, was destined to be a teacher and has been teaching high school students for over a half-century. A 3-day tribute is being planned for Mr. Lawson this summer, July 20th, 21st, and 22nd, to recognize his excellence as a teacher and his leadership in the field of education. Also, a fund established by Ray will be enlarged by contributions from former students, members of the community, and the teaching profession. The fund, named the Ray Lawson Quality Improvement Fund, will be used to improve the quality of learning and teaching in Rochester Community Schools. His college education was made possible by probate judge George Paldy, who was also a family friend. He saw in Ray potential for higher learning and was able to get him a scholarship to Central State Teachers College at Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Mr. Lawson was born in 1918, so when I went to interview him, I was expecting to meet a little old man worn down from decades of teaching undisciplined teens. This was not the man who greeted me at Rochester High. Ray is a young-looking, outgoing, vital senior who was interested in young people and dedicated to teaching them the skills of writing and instilling in them an appreciation for English literature. He said that knowledge of mythology and the Bible are helpful in understanding literature. At one time, he taught the Bible as literature and thinks maybe it would be good to offer such a course again. Many of the students today come from Asia and India and are not familiar with biblical references in their reading materials. Grading term papers and keeping up with his reading takes much of his time, but he is in the process of writing a reflective journal comparing Rochester years ago with that of today. I asked him about differences in students over the years. He said that they were less sophisticated then, had not traveled out of the area, and in some cases had not even been as far as Detroit. If you told them that black was white, they would believe it. Not so today. Some have been to Europe several times and they are more skeptical and questioning. Ray had an interest in reading at an early age and took the part of teacher in childhood playtimes. A first grade teacher, Francis Snyder, impressed him greatly and made him aware that learning can be an enjoyable experience. He decided then that he would like to someday teach. His teacher, seeing that he was reading and writing at a much higher level than his classmates, recommended advancement to the 3rd grade. This resulted in his entering college at age 16. Mr. Lawson graduated from Central State Teachers College in 1940 with a BA degree. In 1953, he earned an MA degree at U of M and also did postgraduate study at Wayne State and Michigan State. He taught high school for 1 year at Powamo, a small town near Lansing, before being drafted into the Army. Ray did not go overseas, but spent most of his time at Galveston, Texas, where as Sergeant Major, he was in charge of the Harbor Defense Headquarters. He received an honorable discharge in 1945. In 1946, he began teaching at Rochester High School and has been there ever since. In 1947, he became attracted to a home economics teacher at Rochester High named Dale Green. They dated, and in 1948, in Denver, Colorado, Dale Green became Mrs. Ray Lawson. They lived in Rochester for 47 years until her death on July 11, 1994. Mr. Lawson has a brother, Floyd, living in Florida, and a sister, Helene Lamming, who resides in Sandusky. He has 3 children, Taryn Gina Sabo of Lake Orion, Tama Ray Rubik, who lives in Jenison, Michigan, and Kent Lawson, who lives at Lapeer. The Lawsons were also blessed with 10 grandchildren and 1 great-granddaughter. Ray has won numerous awards for his teaching and for his contributions to the community, including First Citizen of Rochester in 1973, Elks Club Citizen of the Year in 1982, and the PTA Educational Service Award in 1997. He considers being named Teacher of the Year for the Michigan Parent Teacher Association a highlight of his career. Along with this award, he is proud of the Charles Carpenter Fries Award as Distinguished English Teacher in the state of Michigan, an award presented by the Michigan Council of Teachers of English in 1984. He is also very active in his church, St. Philip's Episcopal of Rochester. Mr. Lawson served as Senior Warden of the Vestry for 12 years, a member of the Oakland Area Council of the Diocesan, a member of the Diocesan Council of the Episcopal Church, on the Commission on Ministry. He also serves as lay Eucharistic minister at Canterbury on the Lake in Waterford, which is a retirement community. He has participated in educational organizations such as the Michigan Council of Teachers of English and the National Council of Teachers of English. He was president of the Michigan Education Association in 1965 and a member of the board of directors for 15 years. Also active in the American Legion, he served as commander of the Homer Wing Post, Rochester, and was district commander. Ray was a prime mover in organizing Neighborhood House and has served on the board of directors for 25 years. He said his major hobby was reading and collecting books for a rather extensive library. Since I am often stumped when I go to the library for some good reading material, I asked Ray for a recommendation. His first thought was Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. He also said that In the Fall by Jeffrey Lent and Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce are very good. I asked Ray if I could talk to a couple of his students to get their thoughts on Mr. Lawson as a teacher. He introduced me to 2 of his seniors, who met with me for a short time and gave their impressions. Kathy Chudik plans to attend Indiana University to study law or possibly filmmaking. Katie likes his frank, straightforward answers to questions and enjoys the open discussions that are interesting as well as informing. Courtney Schreck is planning to attend Washington College, located in Maryland, to study environmental law. She appreciates Mr. Lawson's seemingly unlimited supply of supplemental material that he brings to class to support the subject matter being studied. Courtney's mother, grandmother, both had Mr. Lawson as their teacher. She said, Mr. Lawson seems to be able to adjust to the change in student attitudes and behaviors over the years. Probably explains why he has been such an outstanding, efficient, effective teacher for these 55 years.
Hi, I'm Penny Gray Chrisman. I graduated in 1961, and I want to extend to Ray my gratitude for the teaching and the memories of school. I still remember some of the vocabulary words that we had to memorize in Ray's class, and the little 3x5 metal card carrier that we had all of our words in. And I've told Ray this, that over the years it's been amazing, because there will be certain words that will come up and I will remember them from Ray's class. It was a learning experience that has carried me throughout my life, and I think Ray Lawson is a great teacher. I think it's amazing that he has been at Rochester High for so many years. And my brother, Charles Gray, graduated in 1950, and he attributes the fact that he went on to college because of Ray Lawson's encouragement. And I think this is important for everyone to know the impact that one man, a great teacher at Rochester High School, has had on so many lives. And to that, I'm very grateful, and thank you, Ray, for all of your years of dedication to the youth of our community.
48th annual Christmas parade in downtown Rochester.
That's celebrating 75 years for the library.
It's a great library, beautiful building. We're sure glad to have that right in downtown Rochester.
Yeah, right behind that banner is the sponsors coming.
That's right. And without the sponsors, a parade like this wouldn't happen. They're the ones that help pay the bills.
Well, AAA of Michigan and American House of Bloomfield, Chrisman Lincoln Mercury, Dillman and Upton, the Home Depot, Payne Weber Fund and Community Foundation, all those helped put on this parade this year.
Right. And those are some of the key businesses that we can talk to. So glad to have them here.
That was the Rochester City Police Chief. And, hey, there's a guy wearing a dress.
That's right. We're always proud of our Scottish bagpipers there, right?
Well, look at those cute kids. And underneath the umbrellas.
Yep. And coming up here now is the Color Guard, Troop 101, led by Corey Shelton. The troop has led this Christmas parade for the past 12 years.
The same kids?
Well, not necessarily the same kids, Seymour, but the same troop.
Well, that's a pretty big troop, because look at the size of that flag they're carrying.
That's right, a pretty important job. Right after the flag, also, every year, traditionally, is the Grand Marshal. And this year, it's Ray Lawson. Ray Lawson has been teaching in the Rochester schools for 53 years. One job for the Grand Marshal is to select the best float. We caught up to Ray before the parade and asked him which float caught his eye and what he looks for.
There's some excellent floats here. The dance club has a good one. The Park Middle School has a tremendous one. And the Lions Club has a very well professionally done float. There's some good floats here, wet though they be. Oh, I look for creativity. I look for what content, what they have to say, and the craftsmanship.
And you have to take into consideration the weather?
Well, yes, but you can pretty well imagine what they would be like if they weren't all drenched. I was in the first parade, leading the parade as part of a color guard. And in 30 years, we've had snow and ice and sunshine and rain. So you just do it. This isn't bad.
My name is Wendy Townsend Waskevich. I graduated from RHS in 1982. My family is from a long line of Rochester High School graduates. I grew up hearing all about the quaint downtown and the community, the school and its teachers. There are many teachers my parents talked about from their school days, but none have had the impact on a school, let alone a community, the way that Mr. Ray Lawson has. I grew up hearing about his teaching style and his push for excellence. I even heard it from my older cousins and friends who experienced it firsthand in his senior English class. Then something happened to change my view of him. In the winter of 1981, I became his neighbor. By moving next door to an icon, I was able to see a side of Ray Lawson that few high school seniors get to experience. The human side of a very intimidating, respected man. Respect is definitely a word you need to use when describing Ray Lawson. He was demanding as a teacher, and yet very understanding of his students. He was more than just the senior English teacher and senior class sponsor. He wanted us to do our best. My first experience with this was seeing the long line of cars pulling up to his house that initial spring in our new home. What were all those kids doing? Well, it turned out that Mr. Lawson had allowed the students to turn in their research papers up to the 11th hour. He was letting his students have every available opportunity to get a good grade. He not only respected his students, he also showed great respect for his wife, Dale. Their relationship was a special one. I saw the softer side of that marriage as a teenage onlooker. One summer, my father and Ray decided that the trees that ran between our lot lines were so overgrown that they needed to be trimmed. Well, get two men, cold beers, a chainsaw, and some trees together spelled disaster. Mrs. Lawson came out and was floored by what she saw. The trees were more than trimmed, much more. She was truly upset. Those very trees had been planted by Dale's father many years earlier. Both my dad and Ray felt terrible. I'm sure many of you remember seeing Ray and Dale twirl around the dance floor like Fred and Ginger. I was able to see the magic they shared as I watched them dance at my own wedding and then at my sister's. Their love was evident in the way they held each other and the look in their eyes. Mr. and Mrs. Lawson respected family, too. They were involved with their own children, friendly and helpful. It was a sad day when we learned of Dale Lawson's sudden death. We had lost a truly beautiful person. I remembered seeing Ray Lawson as a caring husband and father. His grown children visited often. Even now, he is a loving grandfather. What a sweet sight to see a strong, commanding presence walking hand in hand with his grandson. Ray Lawson is also an avid gardener, respecting the land. He would spend hours preening his yard, but the students and his responsibility to them took precedence. One year, he was so busy in the fall when school started that he didn't get a chance to plant his tulip bulbs. So when Christmas break came around, with a few days off work and some mild weather, there was Ray, out planting his bulbs. I bet you've never seen him out working his yard in a t-shirt and jeans. I have. When you put all these pieces together, you see why Ray Lawson is so respected and revered. And it can't help but add to your opinion and understanding of him. He is a great man. He is worthy to be honored.
Welcome to the Rochester High School of today.
Well, as you can see, this is primarily where underclassmen eat their lunches.
And school dances and other pep rallies and things like that also happen here in this large space.
Pepsi this year has pretty much taken over our school. Some 22 vending machines litter the halls of our school and throughout outside for us to drink.
This is the start of renovations, which will be completed next year. Next fall, all the students and teachers will be moving over to Stony Creek High School on the north side of town for classes while all the renovations are completed. This used to be the Rochester High School gym, and they're currently renovating it.
Except for a few more stains, Rochester High School, their halls have not changed that much. Can be found in room 161 or 160 right across the hall. He's usually there from about 5 in the morning till 5 in the evening, always there to help students with their research papers, regular papers, or anything else about life that you need help with. In Mr. Lawson's class, you walk in and there's a mutual respect there, and he challenges us all and makes every day a really good day. And I want to thank you, Mr. Lawson, for everything that you've taught us and for inspiring us. And thank you.
My first favorite story was when I finally got the courage during the senior prom to ask Mr. Lawson to dance. And he did very graciously, and I'm sure that I smashed his feet and he didn't grimace. He was just lovely. And my second Ray Lawson story is when I went off to Michigan State. I majored in history and English, and my first writing class, it was our first paper, and when the professor handed me my paper back, it had an A on it, and he looked at me and he said, "You're from Rochester, aren't you?" And I said, "How on earth would you know that?" He said, "Because you're the only one in the class who knows how to write, so you must have had Ray Lawson for a teacher." And I thought that was absolutely wonderful, and Mr. Lawson, thank you very much. And I just want to say, if you need a dance partner, I'm available.
My proudest moment with Ray was I grew up going to the Memorial Day parades every year. Eventually I joined the Air Force Reserve, and then I went regular Air Force, and I was home on leave, and I went down to volunteer, and I got to march alongside of Ray Lawson carrying the flag, and I was carrying one of the rifles in the Memorial Day parade, and I couldn't have been prouder. Ray Lawson was walking down the hall as Jane Frink approached him her freshman year. Ray stopped and put his hands on his hips and said, "Oh my gosh, I thought all the Franks were through this place. What are we going to do now?"
And like everybody else, I have wonderful, fond memories of Mr. Lawson. The first one that pops into my head is one day when Ray was emphasizing the appropriateness of proper pronunciation, and he recalled a story from being in the military when he was with a superior officer, and his superior officer mispronounced the word harassment. And Ray, of course, the ever-present teacher, and I wouldn't have the guts to do this, but Ray immediately said something like, "Excuse me, sir, but the correct pronunciation of that word is harassment." And I could just see him doing it. I would never have the guts to do that, but that's Ray, the always teaching. And I also appreciate my relationship with him to this day. Even though it's been 25 years, I still call him once in a while because I need help with a grammatical question of some kind. I could be typing a letter to the Clarion or filling out a form letter or something, but once in a while I'll come across, does the quotation mark go outside or inside the question mark? And it's like I'm still in high school. It's like my senior year when I was doing that term paper, and I called him 3 or 4 times in the middle of the night. And even to this day, he'll drop whatever he's doing, and he remembers me and answer the question. Of course, he always knows the answers to all the questions in English, and I appreciate the fact that he's still our teacher today and will let us do these kinds of things. I also remember the Rotary Club. In my era with Ray in the 70s, he was a Rotarian, and once a month there was a luncheon, a business meeting, if you will, at the Elks Club. And he would take 2 senior guys every month with him, and it was quite an honor to be selected, obviously. And I was very excited when he asked me to accompany him one time, and it was great. We met the movers and shakers of Rochester, the corporate leaders and the political bigwigs. And then at the end of the year, I think it was May, all of us came back, about 10 or 12 of us came back to the last meeting, and we ran the Rotary Club meeting, and we all divided up into various chores, president and whatnot, and me being the musician of the group, I was in charge of entertainment. And I remember getting the guys to sing, gang singing, if you will, and I had them singing rounds, row, row, row your boat, are you sleeping, 3 blind mice, they all fit together if you put them together. And I thought it was quite humorous that these wonderful big kahunas of Rochester, the drivers of whatnot, are singing nursery rhymes and loving every minute of it. And then halfway through when I was conducting, I sat down and they were still singing and they weren't sure, well, do we keep going or not? And they kept going a couple more minutes and they realized the joke was on them, if you will, and they stopped singing and they all got a big kick out of that. And I appreciate Ray for allowing me to be a part of that. And then finally, on a more somber note, a lot of the students never got a chance to meet his lovely bride, Dale. God rest her soul. I'm sure she's smiling in heaven right now watching this whole weekend's activities. But I got a chance to know her as a person. When I came back from college, I was the director of the Rochester Community Course. And Dale was a wonderful alto in the back row. She was so tall, I stuck her in the back row of the course there. And to get to know her as Dale Lawson as opposed to, Mr. Lawson's wife, I really thank God for the honor and the privilege of getting to know her as well. So Ray, I'm a teacher now too, and almost 25 years in, and I like to believe that you are one of my reasons for going into teaching. You inspired me, you challenged me to learn and to strive. And if I'm half the teacher today, Ray, that you are, then I consider my life a success. Congratulations, God bless you, and I'll see you real soon.
Ray Lawson was my senior English teacher, and Ray, I want to thank you so much for your dedication to so many of us. We're so proud to be able to have this weekend tribute to you, and thank you for being my senior English teacher.
I lived up the street on, at that time, 5th Street, and you lived at Sam Fortune's house. I was just a little twerp, and you were starting your many long years at Rochester. There are a lot of memories I have over the years with you as I went all the way through school in Rochester. You were our senior class sponsor. You went on the senior class trip on the South American to Mackinac Island, on into Chicago, took the train home. It was a very memorable experience that most everyone in my class, we still talk and laugh about it. In fact, my class is now talking about another boat trip to Mackinac Island on our 50th reunion in a year or two. But probably what sticks in my mind most with you is how caring and concerned you have always been with your students. As someone quoted in the paper, that you had said that you're on call 24 hours a day to help your students. And I will never forget that you spent a whole Saturday with me at the Detroit Library showing me how to research and put together a term paper so that you could give me possibly a passing grade. Otherwise, I probably never would have passed. But it certainly, as you well know, I was not one of your A students, and when I went on to college, probably the greatest thing I had going for me was
my ability to write a thesis, and on with the term paper. It seemed that when I enrolled in college that most kids had never written any kind of a paper at all in high school and didn't have the faintest idea where to begin or how to proceed. And it just seemed to have given me a little advantage that a lot of kids didn't have. And probably without that advantage, I would never have gotten through college. And I guess that as this community has certainly always turned out for all the honors that have been bestowed upon you, and they're certainly deserving, and we have been very fortunate to have you in our community, and we're so happy that they were able to put together this little program for you. Good luck.
And I just want to thank you so much for a couple of things. The first is being such a fabulous teacher and inspiration to thousands and thousands of students. I can't tell you in planning this event how many people have made absolutely extraordinary comments about you. I only hope that I could live my life to be somewhere near your stature. You're unreachable. I want to thank you too for allowing us to use your name and to honor you in this. I know that you were somewhat concerned at the beginning. You said, "Oh, I don't like this," and so we want to thank you for that, because in putting this event together, we have had more fun, and we've been able to be with people. I'm sitting in a room today with 3 women that I've known for, I guess, all my life, and that seems to be the case with this committee. I'm seeing people that, even though we all live in Rochester, have kind of gone our separate ways, and we don't always see each other. And so this event has provided that opportunity to work together as adults for a very, very meaningful project. We're very interested in funding your trust at the school, but most importantly, we're interested in planning an event that pays tribute to you and allows you to have the fellowship with people whom you've made successful. So thank you very, very much. It's our privilege. We love you. Thank you.
Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. That is what he said. That is what Abraham Lincoln said. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We of this Congress and this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. And we, even we here, hold the power and bear the responsibility. He was born in Kentucky, raised in Indiana, and lived in Illinois. And this is what he said. This is what Abe Lincoln said. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our cause is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we can save our country. When standing 6 feet tall, he was 4 feet 6 inches. This is what he said. He said, "It is the eternal struggle between two principles, right and wrong, throughout the world. It is the same spirit that says, you toil and work and earn bread, and I'll eat it, no matter in what shape it comes. Whether from the mouth of a king who seeks to bestride the people of his own nation and live by the labor of their fruit, or from one race of men as an apology for enslaving another race, it is the same tyrannical principle."